Responsible for discovering Taylor Swift, Scott Borchetta.
I've been around this my entire life, so when you see that special thing, it's like, okay, you see the potential. And she had so much raw talent. Two very different industries. You know, pop culture is pop culture and it eats itself, and country, we really do build careers. And so you don't have a lot of times just that immediate pop, but you build up to just a great crescendo.
Grand Ole Opry is still important.
Yeah, Steven Tyler played the home of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh my gosh.
And he literally broke out in tears at the end of the show.
Plus,
when we get it right, it's part of your life for the rest of your life. And so when you know you can be part of creating something that moves so many people, that's a pretty weighty thing to be part of.
all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now in Nashville with Scott Borchetta, the founder, president, and CEO of Big Machine Label Group. That's home to superstars like Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw, and Steven Tyler, and 165 #1 singles.
Scott has been listed on the Billboard Power List 100 and Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People in Business.
And that was the voice and the face of my wife, Sean King, who is co-hosting with me here in Nashville, one of her favorite cities. And Scott is one of her oldest friends. They go back a long way.
True, right?
Yeah, very, very, very far back.
Yes.
Our dads worked together. So you probably, well, your first biggest claim to fame, because you've got a lot of claims to fame, but your first big, really power move was Taylor Swift. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, as far as starting Big Machine Records in
right.
2005, she was arguably our first signing, the way everything came together. So obviously that was a good day. And yeah, I mean, the things that we were able to do, because at 14 years old, she was such an ambitious and raw talent that she was so eager to learn and so eager to do. And so, yeah, that was definitely the jump-off point for this next level.
How did you find her?
Ironically, I was at Universal Records still, and I knew that I was going to leave and start my own company. And I got this package that was very well put together, and I didn't think that it would be right for the leadership of the label at the time. And so I met with her, and we had a great first meeting. I went to see her at the Bluebird Cafe 2 nights later. This is November 2nd, November 4th of 2004.
You have a good memory.
And, well, those were pretty important days.
Yeah.
And so I went to meet the family, great meeting, went to meet them a week later, said, here's the deal. If you'd like to be signed to the Universal Music Group, I can introduce you to the executives and try to help you get signed, but you need to know that I'm leaving in a year to start my own label, and the only promise I can make you tonight is if you wait, you'll have a deal with me. And so they looked at me like I was crazy. It's like, oh my God, finally we found a person that we think is the right guy, and he's crazy. And he's leaving.
She's turning down Universal, a major company, to go with a guy starting his own label.
She literally called me herself on the cell phone a couple weeks later and said, hey Scott, it's Taylor. I've made up my mind, I'm waiting for you.
At 14?
She had just turned 15 at that point.
Wow.
So, yep.
Obviously, you could tell that or maybe not. Could you tell when you first saw her, okay, she has it?
I've been around this my entire life, so when you see that special thing, it's like, okay, you see the potential. And my job really at the end of the day is trying to help people achieve their full potential. And she had so much raw talent that, yeah, it's like, okay, if this can take the right course, this is a really big artist. You can't predict what's happened, but it certainly felt like it's going to be big.
Why'd you name it Big Machine?
Because we were anything but a big machine. We were 13 people, and we had just enough money to get started. And I thought, why not make a bold statement? I won't tell the staff that we're not a big machine. Let's just proclaim ourselves a big machine.
Good idea.
Worked out all right.
Now, do you have you do Tim McGraw, he's country, you do Steven Tyler, he's rock. Is Big Machine open to any kind of recording artist?
Predominantly, but I want to make sure we stay in lanes that we feel that we have an expertise. You know, I think our expertise is country and rock, and we do some pop. Obviously, Taylor's crossed over. We've done some other things in the pop genre. We have Laura Marano, who came off of the Disney Channel. But we try to, first off, it has to be something we really love. And it's not really scientific or research-based. It's like, this feels like it has great potential.
And we got 3 of yours here.
Yes.
Just, these are new ones, right?
Yes.
This is what's coming out?
Steven Tyler, We're All Somebody from Somewhere.
Yep, that was a #1 album a couple weeks ago.
The Cadillac 3,
Yes.
Bury Me in My Boots.
Yep.
That's a great title.
They're great guys. 3 guys, all born and raised in Nashville, country rockers. Jaron Johnston, who's the lead singer and songwriter, is one of the most prolific songwriters in town. He's written some of the big Tim McGraw and Keith Urban hits, et cetera. Super talented guy.
And this one is what, Sean?
Justin Moore, and I'm actually a co-producer on that record. It's the first time I've been an official co-producer start to finish.
Wow.
And
what was that like for you?
you know, I've always been in and around the studio, but this is the first time that he came to me and said, you know what, you've been the executive producer for all of my records, my prior 3 records. I want you to come in and let's start from the beginning, and I want you there all the way through. I was really honored that he asked, and really proud of the record.
So how did you do that, though? You're running Big Machine, and producing a record takes a lot of time.
It does. So a few more sleepless nights than usual.
Clone yourself.
But you have to get into that space, and it's so fulfilling to be in the creative process like that. So I think some days you just have to run on adrenaline. So
Why did you go on the American Idol?
Because I wanted to see if they're going to spend that much time and money going through tens of thousands of participants. It's like, okay, there's an A&R opportunity with talent that I might not be able to get my hands on. So I also wanted to prepare the winners for what real life was like the day after the show. And I think we've done a good job with that. So to get behind the scenes, really understand the show, how it works, how to make it work, and how to make it work better for the contestants, I really enjoyed it a lot more than I expected.
What do you say to the losers?
It's tough business. You know, don't stop though. You know, if you really believe this and you really love it, do it because you love it. And you have to have that central belief in yourself. You're going to hear no more than you're ever going to hear yes. So you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Our guest is music mogul Scott Borchetta. We'll talk industry shifts and streaming services after the break. We're back on Larry King Now with featured host Sean King here in Nashville, Tennessee with Scott Borchetta. Sean?
Were you a musician?
Yes.
What did you play?
Played bass and guitar, and I originally came to Nashville as a musician. So I'd worked for my dad in the mailroom and played in bands at night, and ultimately figured out that I was supposed to be on the other side. Because every time I put a pound of effort in during the day, I got a 5-pound return, and then I gave it back every night. They were trying to do music. So it's like, wait a minute, what happens if I put all of my time and attention and effort into the business side? And obviously, you know, finally it's like, let's run toward this. This is what you're supposed to do.
Did Big Machine fill a niche that wasn't there?
You know, I think you could make that argument 11 years ago that there was not a real powerful independent record label in Nashville at that time. And you could see things were changing. You could see the digital horizon. And I didn't think the major labels were moving quickly enough into a lot of the places they need to move. So yeah, I saw a big opening.
How did you do things differently?
Well, there's so much waste involved. When you become a big company, you have to watch waste, and you have to watch your spend, and it become very careless. A lot of the labels hadn't really looked at, you know, what does it really take to make a record? What does it really take to market a record? Why are we doing all of these different things? So we really tried to make it a real return on your investment, but a real return on your time investment for your artist. So a lot of really kind of ground level approach, but also understanding what was happening digitally. You know, Napster was a big wake-up call that a lot of people didn't answer. It's like, okay, we didn't know if it was a flower or a weed, so we assumed it was a weed, let's try to kill it. It's like, no, you can't have that many millions of people all of a sudden running towards something so powerful and just ignore it. And they were ignoring it.
Are there one-hit wonders?
Yes. Yes, there are.
Plenty.
There's a lot more now, really.
It's hard to explain why they can't follow it up, right?
It is from the outside, but from the inside you can tell. It's like, okay, this has its moment, and there's nothing to back it up. Happens a lot more in pop music than it does in country.
Well, in country music, you tend to nurture your artists more, and pop music, it seems like they just throw a record out, and if it doesn't, you know, have legs, you're done. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Next.
Two very different industries. You know, pop culture is pop culture, and it eats itself. And country, we really do build careers. And so you don't have a lot of times just that immediate pop, but you build up to just a great crescendo, and you can stay there for.
Can you make money in record? I know you and Taylor Swift have spoken out against streaming services. Can you make money recording records?
Can and will, and it will get better, because I think that Spotify is going to get to a point sooner than later where there's premium-only opportunities, which will raise, let's face it, there's Spotify and Apple right now as far as what the immediate future is. And Apple's a paid service, Spotify is still a choice. But they're going to get to a point sooner than later where there are going to be premium-only opportunities. I really believe that. And that's going to scale. And the biggest challenge we have right now is we expect to scale right now. It's not realistic. It took SiriusXM combining and 12 years to scale. And now it's a very, very robust business. We have to give streaming a minute. The minute between now and then is going to be a little painful.
Songwriters still make the same that they made in 1944.
Well, they don't make enough, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've been on the front lines of terrestrial performance rights and all of those areas. You know, you've got to lead in this moment, and there's not a lot of leadership. So we're not afraid to go in and make noise about what we think is the right thing for the whole community.
What does independent label mean?
It can mean anything. Basically, we're independently owned because we are distributed by the Universal Music Group. So we have major distribution, but we're independently owned.
In a world of pop and country, how in the mix does a Michael Bublé elevate? How does Adele, who is not like, she's not country, she's not pop, what is Adele?
She's popular.
That's right.
I'll go to my old favorite. Could Frank Sinatra make it today?
If you look at what Frank Sinatra was, that charisma probably couldn't have been stopped. If you look at Elvis, that charisma couldn't have been stopped. So there are consistencies that go back to the biggest.
So they would have made it recording
Yeah,
the
I
songs they
believe that.
recorded.
Well,
well, not the
maybe
songs they
songs.
recorded. I think they would have made it through with the talent that they had, because every moment has their superstars. I think it's more about the genes and just how much charisma.
But the music would be different.
Music would be different.
So you were right.
I was right. I continue to be right. I'm never wrong.
Careful, careful.
Yeah. Okay, I'm wrong a lot.
Are you always looking for new artists?
Always. Yeah, you've always got to keep your finger on the pulse of what's going on there. And you've got to be, I think in this media moment now, more picky than ever, but you can't let something get by because it will change and you've got to stay on the front lines.
Anybody that got by that you regret?
You know, you can't get them all.
Yeah.
And early on when the label was just getting started and Taylor was blowing up and we had a Garth Brooks record, I was pitched Zac Brown. And I literally didn't have time to get to it to go see him, et cetera. Irony is, after his last deal, he came with us, so we were able to work together ultimately.
All's well.
So,
Did you ever turn down anyone you regretted?
you know what? I think if I look back at artists that we passed on, it just didn't feel right for us culturally. You know, it doesn't mean it can't be successful somewhere else.
So
but
you
if
don't regret it?
No, I don't think so.
But is there someone you passed on that did become a big hit, but just wasn't right for you?
Well, Zach was the first one I thought of. As far as recently, I can't think of anything that we specific. Well, you know what? There actually with Sam Hunt, when we saw him, it wasn't really fully realized to the artist that he's become, and so that was when we had an artist that was kind of similar as far as what we were pitched, and so that is one that we did pass on that went on to do really well, and he's a great guy, and I'm really happy for him.
There's no science. This is all subjective, right?
It is. You can put all the science to it, but the little girls understand. They either run toward it or they don't.
Is Nashville better for music than New York or LA? We'll discuss that and some of Scott's favorite artists when we return.
Back with Scott Borchetta. The company is Big Machine. Scott Borchetta has been responsible for such stars as Tim McGraw, Steven Tyler, Taylor Swift, and a host of others. And we'll pick it up with our co-host here in Nashville, Sean King, a relative.
A relative. Scott, there's a perception that country music, that Nashville is just country music. Is that true?
No.
Anymore?
Not at all. You know, whether it's Jack White being here, Central, or the Black Keys breaking from here, or Kesha, we have the best studios in the world. And also, too, if you're a young musician and you wake up and you don't live here, and you're going, okay, should I go to New York or LA or to Nashville? There's so much more work here for musicians.
Really?
Yeah, and it's not like you can go, there's not active scenes right now in New York and LA. It doesn't mean that there won't be, but we have such a thriving and robust community for musicians and songwriters and the whole community.
Grand Ole Opry is still important?
Yeah, Steven Tyler played the home of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh my gosh.
And he literally broke out in tears at the end of the show. He was so proud to
She
have
did
played
it too.
there.
She sang there.
Yeah, how special
What
is
is so
that?
The
special?
best.
That's the history.
It's-
You know, when you think, well, Patsy Cline stood here.
Who stood
and-
on this?
Yeah.
And they have a piece of wood that's from the original Ryman Auditorium.
stage, yeah.
That's where you stand. And so all that history.
Why are country fans more loyal than fans of other genres?
I think part of it is it's slightly a more adult format. So you grow up with these, but also I always say we own the flyover states. You know, we're not about New York and LA, we're about everywhere in between. And it's really a very American music.
Did you have a recording hero, a businessman, someone you looked up to and say, you know, wow, that guy, I want to be like him?
There were several, you know, I got to work with Mo Austin, who used to run Warner Brothers.
What a great
And when
guy.
he
See him
started
all the time.
DreamWorks,
Yeah.
love Mo, and the fact that we got to work together and we're still friends today. You know, I learned so much from Mo, and you know, just studying David Geffen and Ahmet Ertegun and the greats. You know, there was a lot to learn by observing how they treated artists.
You know Sean's father, Carl Engelman,
Of course,
at
one of
Capitol
the
Records.
greats, yes.
Play a little game of
Dynamic
If
duo.
You Only Knew. This is a game
Okay.
where we throw questions at you, and you just respond.
Okay.
A song that never fails to make you feel better.
Give Me Shelter, Rolling Stones.
Favorite musician to see perform live?
Rolling Stones.
Place where you do your best thinking, and don't stay at the Rolling Stones
No.
house.
You know, a lot of times it's driving. There are times where I'll take off in the afternoon, send the calls to the car. Nobody can get to me. So I can literally just, as strange as it sounds, I could focus and just go for a drive. And then idea solved, problem
Yeah.
solved.
Guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. You know what? There's a handful of things that I do with my spare time. So my guilty pleasure is race car driving. I'm a former race driver, and that never leaves. Yeah, so I'll sneak out every once in a while and go take the car to the track.
We did the lead car at Daytona.
That's fun.
How much fun was that?
The
You know?
best.
Banks.
The best.
I got to lead the Indianapolis 500. I got to lead all, because it was the 100th running, we got to lead all of the previous winners.
Oh,
And we were in a 69
wow.
Camaro pace car. And going around, it was sold out, 350,000 people. And just being a lifelong racer, that was a bucket list.
I guess so. Wow, too much fun. A musician people would be surprised to know you listen to.
The Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Is there a genre of music you can't wrap your head around?
You know, when I look at it from what I do every day from a business perspective, I appreciate it, but from what I do every day, I can't really wrap my head around jazz.
Jazz?
Too sleepy for you?
It just, I am about a hook and a hit. So,
Got it.
Yeah.
Characteristic you most value in others.
Trust.
If you could play an instrument, what would you choose?
I play bass and guitar, so.
He already chose it.
Proudest achievement, proudest accomplishment?
Just that we're successful. I mean, this dream of Big Machine and what we could do, so proud of that every day.
What do you wish you were better at?
Patience,
You're not patient?
on occasion.
If you weren't in the music business, you weren't a music mogul, what would you be?
Race driver.
What's the best piece of advice you've received?
Just don't give up, because it's so easy. This is such a hard business, and you get told no endlessly, so you just can't give up.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, Scott will answer your social media questions in our final segment. What's next for Big Machine and its artists? That's next.
You're watching Larry King Now, and we have some social media questions for you, Scott. Jamie French via Facebook asks, what's the best way to get a song you wrote to an artist?
It's really tough because there are so many lawsuits and copyright issues. And the best way is to go through a publisher.
Okay.
At Chili Ray 2005 tweets, why did they end American Idol?
It got to a point where the show arguably had peaked. It's a very expensive show to put on. And it just felt that, you know, from Fox and Fremantle and 19, they didn't want to make any changes from Ryan Seacrest and J-Lo and Keith and Harry. So they decided, hey, you know what, let's go down swinging. And I thought we put on one of the best seasons ever.
Gavin Santanucci via our blog asks, are you friends with any of the other record label heads? Jimmy Iovine, L.A. Reid, etc.
Very friendly with Jimmy Iovine, one of my mentors, honestly, somebody I do consult with regularly. L.A. Reid is a friend. Our local Nashville guys, John Esposito and Mike Dungan and Randy Goodman, we're all friendly. There are days where we fight like wolves, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a honor among thieves.
What is it? This fascinates me. What is it about music that every batter in Major League Baseball has a song that precedes him when he comes to the plate? Music adds to the Olympics. If you didn't have music in a movie, you wouldn't like it at all. What is it about music that so is into our skin?
It's part of our DNA. You know, it not only marks time, but it marks emotion. So if you're that athlete and you want to get in that zone, you have your song that's going to help take you there because it's built into our memory. When we did the Glenn Campbell documentary, one of the things that we found out about Glenn as he went through his ordeal is he could be completely out of it, but when music came on or somebody handed him it was so ingrained in so many parts of his brain that the synapses would start firing. So it's in so many parts of our being that it really records our life.
You love what you do, right?
Yeah.
Why?
I think it's a lot to do with what I just said. When we get it right, from an artist perspective and a label perspective, it's part of your life for the rest of your life. The music that Taylor has made will be a part of her fans' life for the rest of their life. You know, if you're a Steven Tyler fan and it started in the 70s or 80s, that's for the rest of your life. And so when you know you can be part of creating something that moves so many people, that's a pretty weighty thing to be part of.
I'm going to ask you something. What's the feeling you get as a singer
Yeah.
when you're on stage and you're really cutting it? Well, what's that feeling like?
It feels great.
It's hard to explain, right?
Yeah, it's totally hard. I mean, it's like it's
You feel
ecstasy to
like
the nth degree.
I would say you probably feel like you're at your most alive.
Yeah,
Right?
no question.
Yeah.
No question. Everything is popping and
Sensory overload.
It is.
Yeah.
It is sensory overload. And it's almost like, besides having children and getting married, you know, I don't know about any bigger happiness. Is that weird?
It's not weird because I get that from all artists or athletes or performers. When they're on, they're completely in their element, and you're not even thinking about it. You're just in it.
Yeah.
And anytime we can all be in that space of just completely being in and liberated and free, I think that's the essence of being alive.
What are your goals? What's your next one? What do you aspire to? You got such a big hit company.
Well, you know what? We never feel like we've climbed every mountain. So every day right now especially is such a challenge as we transition from a product-based business to a content-based business.
You gonna
These
go
are
into
going away,
television?
you know? Yeah, we're going to do some more television. And there's a lot of different things that we're going to be involved with. But we have a publishing company. We have a lot of other things on the horizon that are coming soon.
You kind of have to, because the record business has changed so much.
Yeah.
You've got to find a spot.
Well, think about what I just said. We're moving away from a product-based business
Yeah.
to a digital content business. This whole thing goes away. Distribution and manufacturing,
There
it's
is no
going
such
away.
thing as
We're at the end of it.
Yeah.
So that transition might sound easy. It's not easy. It's hard. So we're having to rethink everything that we do and how we do it.
You're a great guest.
Thanks, Larry. What a
Continued
pleasure.
good luck.
Thank you.
Big thanks to our guest, Scott Borchetta. You can learn more about his artists at bigmachinelabelgroup.com.
Remember, you can find Larry on Twitter at King's Things and me at Shiny Aura. We'll see you next time.
On Larry King Now, we're in Nashville. My wife, Shawn, joins me to welcome the man responsible for discovering Taylor Swift, Scott Borchetta.
I've been around this my entire life, so when you see that special thing, it's like, okay, you see the potential. And she had so much raw talent. Two very different industries. You know, pop culture is pop culture and it eats itself, and country, we really do build careers. And so you don't have a lot of times just that immediate pop, but you build up to just a great crescendo.
Grand Ole Opry still important?
Yeah, Steven Tyler played the home of the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh my gosh.
And he literally broke out in tears at the end of the show.
Plus,
When we get it right, it's part of your life for the rest of your life. And so when you know you can be part of creating something that moves so many people, that's a pretty weighty thing to be part of.
all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now in Nashville with Scott Borchetta, the founder, president, and CEO of Big Machine Label Group. That's home to superstars like Taylor Swift, Tim McGraw, and Steven Tyler, and 165 #1 singles.
Scott has been listed on the Billboard Power List 100 and Fast Company's 100 Most Creative People in Business.
And that was the voice and the face of my wife, Shawn King, who is co-hosting with me here in Nashville, one of her favorite cities. And Scott is one of her oldest friends. They go back a long way.
True, right?
Yeah, very, very, very far back.
Yes.
Our dads worked together. So you probably, well, your first biggest claim to fame, because you've got a lot of claims to fame, but your first big really power move was Taylor Swift. Am I right on that one?
Yeah, as far as starting Big Machine Records in
right.
2005, she was arguably our first signing, the way everything came together. So obviously that was a good day. And yeah, I mean, the things that we were able to do, because at 14 years old, she was such an ambitious and raw talent that she was so eager to learn and so eager to do. And so, yeah, that was definitely the jump-off point for this next level.
How did you find her?
Ironically, I was at Universal Records still, and I knew that I was going to leave and start my own company. And I got this package that was very well put together, and I didn't think that it would be right for the leadership of the label at the time. And so I met with her, and we had a great first meeting. I went to see her at the Bluebird Cafe 2 nights later. This is November 2nd, November 4th of 2004.
You have a good memory.
And well, those were pretty important days. And so I went to meet the family, great meeting, went to meet them a week later, said, here's the deal. If you'd like to be signed to the Universal Music Group, I can introduce you to the executives and try to help you get signed. But you need to know that I'm leaving in a year to start my own label. And the only promise I can make you tonight is if you wait, you'll have a deal with me. And so they looked at me like I was crazy. It's like, oh my God, finally we found a person that we think is the right guy. And